Yeah.
Hello, Internet. This is Alicia Sterling with Geeks Without Bounds, and we're going to have another mentorship today with Aguas Con Tu Agua, a project to track the water quality of water bodies and municipal water sources in Guatemala. Um, Last week, we did uh, a section on goals, and we solidified a single sentence that basically describes what this project is in terms of what the team needs to remember when working backwards to build the tasks. So in English, Aguas Con Tu Agua includes a web mobile application and water testing kit to allow community members, NGOs, and government in Coban, Guatemala, to track both perception of and actual water quality in an actionable dashboard. So the web and mobile application are software tools that are being created by the group, Aguas Con Tu Agua. The water testing kit is electronic and chemical testing kit or testing kits, which may be a third-party kit or maybe something that's put together by the team. And when we say community members, we mean regular citizens. We want regular citizens to be able to um, interact with this program and be able to actually know what the quality of their water is. So one of the things that we talked about, we have been talking about over the last couple of weeks, is how by working through everything we've done so far, the 25 things exercises, where we looked at what a project is and what the project isn't, and what destiny factors, what things are not in the control of this team, and also what kind of assumptions we're making in order to be able to make this project work. All of that together with this final statement that this project includes a web and mobile application and a water testing kit to allow community members, NGOs, and government in Coban, Guatemala to track both perception of and actual water quality in an actionable dashboard. That sentence is basically what informs every decision we make now about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So for the time being, at this point in this project, probably for the next 6 months, we're not going to be looking at how this application will function in Antigua, Guatemala, or how it's going to function in Seattle, Washington. Although someday we hope that the system will be able to be applied to other places as well. Right now, all we care about is Coban, Guatemala, so we can focus our attention down to that. Also, we know that we need a web and mobile application, and we need a water testing kit. So we know that we have specific pieces of work to do in order to develop the application that people can use to put information in and also to get the information back out. We know that we have to find an appropriate water testing kit or be able to build one that will be able to distribute at a price that that is affordable. And we know that we want this to be available to ordinary citizens, to NGOs, and to government. So it's not just one of those groups. We need to make sure that we're covering all of those people. And we also know that one of the key outcomes of this is a dashboard that will allow people to do something with that information. The original project simply gathered the data, but it didn't necessarily present that data in a way that a local water company could actually do something about that data. And so one of the actions that the team is going to have to do in order to fulfill this goal is to understand what the local water providers need to know, and how information needs to be presented to them so that it will be actionable. So, so today, most of our time is probably going to be spent talking about the tasks that we need to do in order to make this happen. And we're also going to start talking about, well, actually, I don't know if we're going to get to the fundraising. We're going to have a mentorship very soon, within the next couple of weeks, that's going to be all about ways to fundraise and deciding how we're going to be fundraising for this project. But right now we need to talk about what tasks we need to do for this project in order to make it successful, and have an idea of what we're doing in the short term, in the next few weeks, but also a bigger picture over the next 6 months. ¿Entendieron todo? ¿O necesito traducir también?
Está todo bien, gracias.
Okay. So, sorry, you were saying, Mark?
Well, just to keep in mind, the decisions we make now and the things we uncover in these weeks are going to tell us what kind of fundraising we need. That's going to inform that process in terms of how much we need, who it's going to be directed at, and all those other things. So keep that in mind as we proceed.
Yes. So this past week, I think it was Ricardo that sent me the Aguas Con Tu Agua dashboard, the Trello dashboard, not the actual Aguas Con Tu Agua dashboard, but the Trello dashboard with the various lists, what they need to do around UI, what they need to do with data, what they need to do for the testing kit, and backend, and the promotion. We're going to need to add a list for fundraising, and probably going to need to add a list for just organizational issues. One thing that we haven't talked about is what kind of an organization this is. And if you don't know that already, we may need to find a lawyer in Guatemala who we can speak to about what your options are. So, Mark, do you have a place where you want to start?
Well, I mean, it's from what I understand, you've got an up and functioning app already that's prototyped. Right.
We have that link in one of the earlier
mentorships.
Mentorships, yes.
Yeah. The other thing, I mean, I think really the critical piece right now is probably working out what needs to happen vis-a-vis the test kit. That looks like a wide open thing. I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I agree. So I have a question. Oh, no, actually I know the answer to that question. Never mind. I was going to ask about the Tarifa stuff, and I'm going to try to get us a mentorship with one of the leaders from Tarifa to give you a technical mentorship, but that is not ready yet. I'm about to post the link. How can I do this? In the site. Actually, I don't think I can do that on the site, but the address for the Aguas Con Tu Agua app is http://aguascontuagua.com. so you can see what the current dashboard looks like. So, team, ¿tienen algunas preguntas o hay un lugar donde quieren comenzar?
Okay, when we were starting to develop this project, we started basically building this website. Thank you for the link. I think when looking at our target and all the functions that we are thinking to offer to these customers or these users, these end users, we were thinking, or I was thinking, that the main functionality that needs to be working at 100% in the website is how the people can create alerts. If we can finish this workflow for the alerts, or for the people to create an alert at the website, we can start addressing different customers or different users, for example, Cocoles and water committees and citizens and NGOs and maybe our friends. So if we are, when thinking about how to start developing or how to start working on this project, I think that one of the possibilities is to start working on how we can create these kind of alerts.
Okay. So I'm trying to get the Aguas Con Tu Agua to work for me right now, but it's showing me the ocean. No, come on. Give me this. Give me a place. So I can't pull the site up right now, except looking over the ocean, it appears. So right now, what I can see on the site is that when you get to the site, you have the map, the ability to report deforestation, the ability to connect to collaborate, or to report contamination, to report pollution. So in the section where it says where you report contamination, it's just right now it's just about opinions about the water, whether it's potable water, whether it's drinkable, and then it asks, do you know where the source of the river that you're looking at is? Do you see forest cover around the river? Are there drainages that are defogging? Eso es como like pollution, right? Like putting in pollution? Or ¿qué quiere decir defogging?
Como
Defogar.
pouring what solid and liquid waste into the water.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Interestingly, Google Translate doesn't recognize the word, so I don't feel quite as stupid. So yeah, is there drainage that's pouring into the water, and do you see trash or residue floating in the river? So right now it's mostly sort of like opinion and knowledge about the river, which can be really useful. But if you want to get people to just report a specific instance of contamination, you might want to have just a single question and then offer them the ability to give more information. So, start with just what is it you want to report, and they can say what they're reporting. If they're using a web app on a mobile phone, for instance, you can take their GPS information, their geolocation data, and ask them if the contamination is right where they are, and then give them the opportunity at that point, would you like to explain what contamination you see? And then let them answer either yes, no questions or an other. Does that seem like what you were kind of thinking about doing? Or am I off base here?
No, it's quite like that. We were thinking about maybe just focusing on one kind of information or one piece of information at a time. For example, I think that website right now can confuse the user about what are we trying to get, or what are we trying to gather, and what are we trying to create. So we want to simplify, in a way, this website so the user can access or can navigate to it and just actually give the information that we need. For example, we want to know what is people's perception about their water quality, and not just the one that they are using at the river or they are looking at the river, but the water that they are using at their homes. So we can create this experience in a perfect, clear way to the users, so we can gather this information, I don't know, in a rush, without too much steps for the user.
Exactly.
Maybe like we need to, I think that we need to focus on how to gather the information as quick as possible from the user, because the user won't be like playing within our website too much time. So
Right.
we need to improve the time that we can get the user attention to get the information that we really need.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about
go
cutting the information about deforestation. I think that deforestation can wait till we create this experience just focusing on water quality. So deforestation can be off for a while, and we start working with the data that we could gather, or we can gather locally. For example, I would like to start like with people here at Soban, just sharing how is that they perceive water quality at their homes, for example. So we can spread this application through our friends, through our social networks, but we just focus on this data about water quality at their homes. Once we can gather a considerable amount of information, maybe we can start working the other another step, that is gathering information about the rivers or another city that is near Coban?
So what I would recommend is build a really basic HTML5 app that sits at aguascontuagua.com/agua or reporte, right? Something like that. And at that URL, just have a really simple interface that's intended for a mobile device. So no clutter, just you know, a single question and buttons, and or two questions basically. Is there a problem? Is there a contamination problem in the water where you are? Yes, no. And then the next question underneath that, would you like to give more information? And then
Or where
yes,
are you?
Yes, no. Well, the where are you, if it's coming off of a mobile phone, it'll pull the GPS data off of the phone, right?
Okay, but is the place that you are
Right.
reporting it from the place where the contamination is?
Well, that's why the question is where you are. Is there a problem with the contamination where you are right now?
Oh, okay. That wasn't clear.
Sorry. So something really basic like that. I mean, that's basically what Tarifa is doing with water point management, where in their case it's mostly text messages, but there's also a web interface. But somebody sends a text message saying that something is broken here, and then it requests a couple of pieces of information, but each piece of information is just on one screen. Like, it asks a question, you respond. It asks the next question, you respond. And then it says thank you. And one of the questions that you may ask is, would you like a report back if there's any action on this item? Or, would you like us to contact you if we have news about this? That could be one of your questions in the back and forth. But, a really simple interface that's just easy to press with your fingers on a mobile phone screen. If somebody's got a big... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe the possibility to build an interface as simpler as this application that is called Tinder.
Like
Tinder is just yes, it's one of the simplest application I know, and it's just 2 buttons or maybe like 3 buttons where you can select if you like or not a situation. Then we can maybe create an experience, a user experience resembling that kind of application, when I can simply show the user the question, or maybe I don't know, like a graph, or like I don't know what kind of graphic, so the user can interact just saying yes or no. Or
so here's the thing: if you want to get the information from where they are, something that would be really useful, kind of an opposite from Tinder, right? In Tinder, it's presenting you a picture, and you say if it's hot or not, right? What if you do the opposite? You give them, a page that says, "Is there a problem? Please take a picture," and they can take a picture of the water coming out of the spout or the water in the river, right? and then they're sending the picture to you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's just an idea. It's one of the ideas that we've been floating around for tracking pollution in Ecuador. And it basically, it's one of the things that we've been thinking about fitting on top of the Tarifa platform for tracking the pollution in Ecuador, to be able to have a witness, basically a digital witness, like, look at this petroleum on the water. It's freaking obvious, right? So, you know, doing the same sort of thing in your situation, in your ¿Qué opinas tú de tu agua? One of the questions is, si observan basura o residuos flotando en el río, right? So, you know, if they take a picture, and then after they take the picture, there's like a list that could either be they click on one of the items on the list, or they click check mark boxes next to the list and then hit submit, and that the list could be something like basura en el agua, residuos flotando en el agua, discoloración del agua, no sé, agua en fuego. That's more of
Agua
a
en
problem
fuego.
up here in North America. Sí, eso pasa aquí. Por todo el fracking que hacen aquí, el agua a veces se pone en fuego. Y en Ecuador
No,
también.
aquí todavía no hay fracking.
Yeah? Lucky. So,
Matthias, what if we can create the maybe like a group of mock-ups or wireframes,
yeah.
just for showing the idea that we are maybe like building in our heads, and we share to you maybe on the week, during the week.
That would be really great. And so here's the thing. Share those mock-ups with us, but even more importantly than that, show them to your friends. Show them to some people who don't necessarily know too much about the project, and ask them if they know what they would do with that. Like, if you saw this, what would you do? If you saw this, would you understand what it was about? Because that kind of feedback from ordinary people, non-technical people, or just people who aren't in your group. I memean, they might be technical, but they're just not within your group, so they don't have, you know, Aguas Con Tu Agua head. That feedback from other people is going to help you to refine the experience.
One question.
Yes?
What if we create this minimal experience and we share to our friends and they give us feedback, and then we develop another feature for the website? What if we share it again? Will they come again to answer or to give feedback, or will they just ignore it? What do you think?
So here's the thing. As you go through this process, some of your friends are, and some people who aren't your friends yet, but who are strangers right now, will be really happy to give you lots of feedback, because they're glad that somebody is doing something that is giving them a voice. In all of these community activities like this, there's always somebody who feels like, thank goodness I have a voice in this process. And so there's going to be some people who you show this to once or twice, and you know, you've added another piece and added another piece, and now they don't want to hear about it anymore. There's going to be some of those. Don't worry about that. As time goes on and you get a stable product, they're going to interact then, right? Because what they want is that stable product experience. but there are plenty of people who are going to want to be able to give both you the feedback so that they know that they have technology they can use, but also are really glad that they're getting the opportunity to say, hey, the water here is messed up, do something about it. So those people, as you find them, as you ask people to give you feedback, some of those people are going to become clear to you. And those are the people that you're going to sort of cultivate in terms of showing them things along the way, asking them lots of questions, and they will respond. Every project has the people who respond a lot and a few people that just respond sometimes.
Okay, one weakness that we are facing right now is that we, in our teammates or in our team, there isn't a person with maybe like a graphical designer profile. We're just a bunch of programmers. So when thinking about user interface, it's been like maybe not a problem, but it makes us feel insecure, you know, because we are thinking, will this be okay? Or I think that someone can create a better interface than this, and maybe we should not publish it yet.
Okay, so first off, you're probably going to have some major changes in your interface along this process. Don't stress out about that too much. We want to start getting functionality, and where your interface is going to get much improved very quickly. There are some issues that as soon as you've got some wireframes, we can give you some immediate feedback to help you make it a little bit better and more usable. Let's start with making sure that the interface is usable, and then the second step will be making sure it's pretty. Okay? So, you know,
excellent.
First step usability, second step beauty. If you go around the other direction, then it takes a lot more to make the pretty interface usable. Right now I have an email open, and I'm going to send an email out to somebody. Oh, my brain I can see this person's face, and I just can't think of his name, so I can't send him the email. I'm going to write the subject of the email and put his name in as soon as it comes back to me. Don't you hate that when just all of a sudden your brain's like, nope, I'm not gonna let you know the person's name. Here's their face. They have no name.
Okay, and thinking about maybe like a progressive development, or like using this kind of agile programming I don't know, process. Thinking about this, if we create this minimal product or this MVP right now, and we spend like 2 or 3 weeks building this, it won't affect maybe our goal, like when reaching 6 months we can maybe run this funding campaign?
So you're going to actually run a funding campaign way before the end of the 6 months. And don't worry about having everything looking pretty for that. We're going to get into how we're going to run the funding campaign really soon. I want to make sure that you've got a few technical things taken care of. The UI, if you guys start creating the wireframes and start creating some this basic MVP, that's going to give you something to build on top of. If you try to build everything all at once, then you're going to get bogged down and you're not going to have anything to show. I think that your decision to start off with a minimum viable product, which is something that allows people to report contamination, is actually a really good place to start.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, it's a really good place to start because you are going to be able to, use that to show what your team can do. You're also going to you're going to use the experience of building this UI and how you're interacting with end users. That experience that you're about to have is going to inform how you build out all of the other pieces of UI, and learning how you're interacting with your friends and other end users right now with this really minimal product is going to help you to develop the other pieces more quickly. So I'm definitely not concerned that this is going to slow you down from your long-term goal. Quite the opposite. I think that this is an easy, low-hanging fruit that you can develop and build some skills and some sort of internal habits that are going to help you with the rest of the development.
How long do you think it'll take you to have this this one piece done? When can you have it ready?
We can start working on the mockups this week. Maybe we can we can create these mockups. For next Tuesday, maybe.
Okay.
And if everything okay, I don't know, building that building the website for that mockups. I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks.
So if it's taking you 2 or 3 weeks, it's much too complex of a mockup. I want you to think of this in really simple terms. Think of building something that works on a screen this size. You can always expand something that works on a screen this size to a full-size laptop screen. It's much harder to take something that works on a full-size laptop screen and shrink it down to this size. Okay? So right this minute on your first pass, I want you to think in terms of just HTML5 and CSS, and I would go so far as to say don't bother making your wireframes in GIMP or Adobe or anything else. Just sit down and hand code HTML5 with words and with buttons that are made out of pure HTML, and the ability to take pictures using the phone camera, which is in HTML5, and getting the GPS data, again, that's in HTML5. So just keep it really, really simple right now.
Okay. What about development? Should we think maybe a progress or maybe like an agile development strategy? For example, developing just for 1 week or developing for just 2 weeks?
So yeah, I'm kind of laughing about the agile strategy because I read a funny thing today about the agile strategies that people actually use, and agile strategies that people actually use, using the word agile, using the word scrum, paying money for a license. But jokes aside, I think that the strategy of just taking things a piece at a time, build this piece, look at it, make sure that it's good, then build the next piece. The this wireframe is literally, if each of you builds a wireframe, you can each build your own wireframe in 3 or 4 hours. One of you will do something amazing, because there's always somebody who thinks that they have no talent at this, who as soon as they sit down and play with the HTML, they do something amazing. And the rest of you will do something on the spectrum between complete crap and amazing. But you can take a look at what you've done and compare them. So that's one way to do this as a team, when you feel like none of you knows exactly what this is going to look like and you just want to get it done. Another way to do it is to pick one person that you already know is pretty good at making those simple user interfaces and handing it off to them. What I wouldn't recommend, don't try to develop it as a committee. Having 2 people to a computer, absolutely, that's great. I'm a firm believer in co-programming, at pair coding. It speeds things along. It helps you find your errors. So absolutely, 2 people to a computer, if that's your style of working, do it. But don't try to build the UI, this first pass of the wireframe, as a committee job. Build a wireframe or build multiple wireframes that are going to compete. And then the committee work is when you sit around and you critique it. Does that make sense? And this is something that literally, if you say this is the thing we're going to do this week, it doesn't have to take 40 hours to make those wireframes. You know what the goal is. The goal is to get somebody who has a cell phone that has a web browser on it, right? This isn't even a web app. This isn't even a mobile app. It's just a web app that they happen to be using on a cell phone, right? So your goal is that somebody with a cell phone that has a web app on it is going to report some contamination right where they are right now. Using that in mind, you make your wireframe, go through the process. Like, I would have them answer this question, I would have them take this photograph, I would have them answer this other question, I would tell them thank you, or whatever your process is. Then once you have those simple things written out, then you can sit down as a group and say, I don't like the way this works, I do like the way this works, let's tweak this, let's take this thing that Luis Carlos did here and this thing that Ricardo did here, and let's move them both into one program or whatever, so that next Tuesday you'll be able to either show us one HTML5 sort of wireframe progression, or you might have 2 or even 3 different options. Like, we thought about doing it like this, and we thought about doing it like this, and we thought about doing it like this, and we don't know what's better. And then we can talk about it. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Hold on just one second. Hold on. I'm really sorry to do this to you.
So, Mark.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, I think Lisha disappeared. Having that in mind, then we are starting focusing just on allowing the people to create alerts about water quality. So the next step, I think, it will be to involve not just the people, but to give them the ability to create like a community of people worrying about water issues. So that could be our second goal, maybe.
I think, yeah, I think that's possible. I think you're likely to have slightly different thinking on it once you're done with your prototype and have some feedback from it. But that's just the human condition. That's not a reflection on any fault in your thinking. I think you've done. I think the idea of putting this this mock-up together in a week is just getting a very simple thing up and running is, I think, an excellent idea. It cleans out a lot of complications that would have bogged you down, and has you on a much more smooth and workable trajectory to actually accomplish some good. Bravo! Good job, guys.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
I'd like to say something else. I don't know what I missed when I was running to go grab my mom. But what I would add to this, very minimum viable product, in addition to people needing to be able to create an alert, you need to be able to put the alerts on a map. So, you've already got the tool that puts alerts on a map. Like, you guys already wrote code to put information on a map, which hopefully you can just make some minor adjustments to take the data that you're bringing in from these alerts and put the alerts on your map. Because that's going to be the initial feedback that people get. I just did an alert. I can see my alert on the map, and I can also see other people's alerts on the map.
Right. We were thinking maybe like something like, maybe in the future, but something like Waze, when you can watch where the people created an alert and what kind of alert it was.
Right. So I want to show you a site. Hold on a second. Where are you? WaterPoint's dashboard. My internet is suddenly slow. Child, are you downloading big things on the internet? Okay. Okay, so this might take a while to download, but to come up on your site. I just put a link right here, dashboard.taarifa, that's TAARIFA.org/#/dashboard. So if you go there, you can see all of the reported water points in Tanzania. Sorry. You can see all the reported water points in Tanzania, which ones are functional, which ones need repair, and you can see that this dashboard has a lot of different information on it. You can see the map here. If you go over the map and then click on one of the sort of bright orange locations so that it drills down further, eventually actual pumps will come on if you go in really close. And then you can see what information there is about that pump. You can also click in to one of the other points on this dashboard. So in a minimum viable product, I think that the very minimum is just to have the map where you can click into the map and then you can actually see water points in that, or alerts in your case, it's alerts in that map that you can click on the alert and get information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm realizing as I'm messing with this that there's been some changes to the current dashboard. So, so I'm having trouble like talking to you and making it work at the same time since it's a little bit different from the last time I looked at it. But yeah, that very minimum experience of I added a piece of information and I can look at that piece of information on the map. And yeah, like you said, so I'm gonna share my screen here for a moment. Screen share, entire screen, share. Sorry about the echo screen there for a moment. So hopefully you can see this here. If I click on one of these, I get information and I can show the reports of what's going on, which unfortunately right now there's no reports. It just back. And now it's loading again. Back to regional. Okay, so for each one of these points, I can bring up information about that point. There we go. So this is everything that we know about that particular point, what hardware it is, what installer, the management for that. You know, in the long term, you'd probably like to have lots of information like that. Some of this information on the Tanzania site is coming from national data. Some of it is from our team on the ground. Some of it is from citizens. In the long run, you guys are going to want to have something like that, you know, where the NGOs are putting some information into the system, where the government and the community water providers are putting some information in, and where citizens are putting information in, and that's going to be clear when you click on this what that is. But for today, this really minimal product, simply being able to have, like, I click on this and it says something's floating in the river, and that's it. Like, that's all we've got right now. But at least it's something, and it shows that we can gather that data. And it shows that we're sharing that data. You can see not only what you just reported, but what other people reported as well. And what you were saying before about building a social experience so that, you know, a community of people who care about the water, you'll be able to figure out how you're going to build that community as you see how these reports shape up on the screen, right? As you see that and you talk to people about what that makes them think or how they would like to interact with that, you'll start to have better ideas about how are you going to build in the social aspects about getting these things fixed.
I see.
Is that helpful? I don't know if I just made things more confusing. I'm hoping that it was helpful, but if I made things more confusing, holler at me.
No, not at all. I think it was a very good example. It makes things maybe I don't know, like possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Okay, so having that in mind, our first step could be to improve the way we can manage and create alerts, and the way these skill or maybe this ability that we are given to the people, and maybe later we can go back to the test kits.
Yeah. So on this piece with the wireframes, if you're gonna share more than one with us next week, you don't have to take this recommendation. It's just an idea. But the way that I would do it is I would do one at aguascontuagua.com/reports1, aguascontuagua.com/reports2, something like that. So it's, they're in subdirectories, and then you can just click from one to the other. The fact that they're on your web server, as opposed to just being files that you're handing over, means that we'll be able to look at them in a small screen and discuss them together from that point. Okay?
Okay.
Alrighty. So I'm going to make every effort to get somebody from Tarifa here for next week. No promises, but I'm going to try. So, because I think it'd be really good for you guys to talk about the technical back-end side. Even if you don't use any of their technical back-end, they may be able to give you some wisdom. Because the Tarifa project has gone through an entire rewrite, in part because of security issues. And I'd like to make sure that you guys don't have to go through that. Even if your whole code base is your own, I'd like you to be able to have the experience of learning from other people's mistakes. Okay?
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Great. Do you guys have any other questions before we head out? Okay.
Okay.
Mark, anything you want to add?
I think you guys are doing spectacularly. If you think about the amount of stuff that you've stripped out of this project, and now you have it down to something very clear that's doable, and you're going to have something up and running that's doing what you want it to do within a couple of weeks, I think, at the most. I think that's significant progress, and I think when the time comes, you'll be ready to take the next steps and move forward again. So I think you guys are making very good progress here.
Thank you, Mark. Happy to hear that.
Yeah. Well, think about it yourself. I mean, it's the amount of stuff that you thought you were going to be doing has fallen away, and now you've got a very clear set of things to do over a very manageable time range. And
yeah, and then then we get this first piece done, and then we hit the next piece. Keeping everything in manageable bites. That is the secret.
Yeah, one thing people don't realize is that you don't have to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. Just focus on the doable and let it build and accumulate over time, and you'll really make tremendous accomplishment.
Excellent. We're hoping to create a very nice experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you guys will.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel good about this thing. Okay.
Thank you guys for your time. As always, don't hesitate to email me or send me messages on Facebook or Google Hangouts anytime during the week. And if I don't get back to you right away, I promise I will get back to you. And if you have any questions or need any clarifications about anything, or if you want to show me work before next week, just go ahead and do that. I'm here for you. Okay?
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Alicia.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Mark. Thank you.